is they're all coming out of the gutter. Bruce Wayne psychologically, Selena Kyle literally, fucking Penguin literally, you know what I mean? Like they're not even at the top of their game. This is them rising through the ranks type thing. And we're not used to seeing that. And I think that is where like the vast majority of the disruption comes in, because we have these like narratives in our head of who these characters are. And because we're seeing this like prequel version of all of them, it's disruptive.
What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for being with us today. This is the Deviance Welcome Podcast, brought to you by Volatile Patience. I am John, and with me, as always, my co-host, Cell. Say hi to the people, Cell.
Hi, the people.
Fantastic. So this week, we couldn't really find anything that was, like, pod-worthy in the trending topics. So...
At least not anything that we could, like, research quickly. Because, like, the Jan 6 fucking court shit is a thing that's popping off that maybe... people care about. I don't know.
For those of you who couldn't see my eye roll, it was there.
Like the big thing on that one, just in terms of like settling this so that we can just put opinions out there and call it a day. Is kind of how I feel about it, because like you got all these liberals online that are like, oh my god, this is so blah 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 blah, and it's like, if you had been paying any kind of attention whatsoever to like what online fascism was doing and what all the people who were calling out online fascists were saying, like none of this shit would be a surprise.
No,
that's the end.
Not at all. Maybe we'll touch on it month in review. We'll see.
Maybe.
Anyway. To that point, we decided, Cell suggested that, it'd be a good time for us to do a movie review. We haven't done one in a little while since Metal Lords, and I think that was at least a few months ago.
Yeah, something like that.
So this time, I suggested we do one that I was very cautious about. We decided to review The Batman. And the reason I am so cautious about that is... full disclosure, I didn't even bother with Batfleck. Nope. I wanted no part of Batfleck. I didn't watch Batman versus Superman. I didn't bother watching the Justice League. No, I can't do it. Batman in the back of a Volkswagen? No, I can't do it. If you thought he was good, hit me up and tell me why, and then maybe I'll give it a shot. But otherwise, nuh-uh. And this one, to me, is real touchy, because Batman has always been my favorite superhero.
Okay.
Always.
Okay. I did not know that, but okay.
And Captain Sparkles in the Sunlight is my least favorite vampire ever. Right?
Sure.
So
sure.
I was very concerned about whether or not Robert Pattinson could be anything other than Captain Sparkles in the Sunlight.
Sure.
From this moment on, there are spoilers. So if you have not seen this movie, do not continue any further. Go watch the movie, then come back, and we will still be here. This episode will be here waiting for you.
Yeah.
I thought he did an okay job. I did. I thought he did an okay job. He was definitely better than Val Kilmer.
Okay. Yeah. What my opinion on it was, he did a really good Batman for this version of Batman.
Yeah.
Like this version of Gotham, like his version of Batman, like kind of like a little bit of a throwback to the world's greatest detective type Batman.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there was very much like a more like investigative feel to this Batman over a lot of the more recent iterations,
And he was still
Batman.
he was still a newer, like a new to the role type Batman, only 2 years deep and not exactly as flashy,
right,
and
exactly.
still kind of fucking up.
Yeah, exactly. So for what the Batman, or so for who the Batman was that he was playing in that version of Gotham, I thought he was actually pretty damn good.
I thought he did a decent job.
What I didn't think he did a very good job of was being Bruce Wayne.
And, this was, and again, I didn't see the Batfleck roles.
Sure.
But I have never to this point seen, every Batman movie I've seen, you get more Bruce Wayne than you do Batman. in this 3-hour marathon movie.
It was
right?
so long.
It was long.
It was so
but
long.
in this marathon of a movie that is like 3 hours long, I think he's Bruce Wayne for maybe 10 total minutes of screen time.
Yeah, not a whole lot.
He is Batman this entire fucking movie.
Yeah. For the most part, yeah.
And I don't know if that helped or hurt him. I really didn't care for the extra reclusive, like the extra reclusive Bruce Wayne. I always kind of enjoyed the Bruce Wayne that was very much like the polar opposite of Batman.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
The very much the extreme, like Christian Bale's Batman, where he's jumping into the pool and the not pool in the restaurant, right? And buying the expensive cars. I loved that.
Sure. I well, and that was where I think like it was the saving grace for how bad of a Bruce Wayne I felt like he did, because like ultimately like the Bruce, like he felt natural as Batman and fake as fuck as Bruce Wayne, which is kind of like what you would expect from a real Batman. That early into the game, when the whole psychology is the Batman is the real guy and the Bruce Wayne is the mask type thing.
Yeah.
Like that's the only real saving grace. But like I just did not like his version of Bruce Wayne, and I understand he was trying to be like tortured fucking, I'm sad about my mom and dad.
Right. He was like level 11 brood.
Right. But what I really did enjoy about this 3 fucking hour long marathon Batman is they did not do the fucking death of the parents scene.
Right. We did not have to see the parents die.
Again.
Right.
Again. Look, whatever set of years the Dark Knight stuff, or whichever the last Dark Knight was, where where they showed the death of the parents, the counter starts from there. 20 years from then, when that movie was released, is when we need to see another death of the parents in a Batman movie. There will be more Batman movies between now and then. There always will be. It just seems to be a thing where they are all constantly reinventing Batman. But like 20 years from that point is when we actually need to see the fucking death of the parents again. And I really loved that this one didn't do that.
No, and I thought the backstory with that was interesting. They took a different twist on it because Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, who is, one of the major inspirations of him becoming Batman, because Thomas Wayne was trying to revitalize Gotham in just about every one of the iterations of, the Batman mythology.
Right.
They're all somewhat different.
He was
but in each
big
one,
philanthropist guy.
Right. Thomas Wayne is the guy who's trying to be like spearheading the savior.
Right.
And in this one, they got him mixed up with not Maroni, Falcone.
Mm-hmm.
The
Penguin.
Big, no.
Wait.
No. Falcone.
I
He's the big mob boss.
Sure.
The big one.
Okay.
The one that was essentially the mayor of Gotham.
Okay,
because he's the one that ran
yeah.
he was the Penguin's boss.
Yeah.
Right? You had to mix the dude from Transformers.
Right.
The goofy dude from Transformers. It was weird.
Catwoman's dead.
Yeah, Catwoman's dad. Yeah, I thought you said dead for a second. I'm like, what?
No, Catwoman's dad.
But I thought they took an interesting turn with that, and I did really enjoy it once I got into it. It took a while to get into because for like the first hour and a half, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I like all of the elements you're giving me.
Sure.
But
put them
together.
So,
what the fuck is going? It's so all over the place.
In the front end, it kind of is, yes, and like really, I think where a lot of that disruption is that this is a very unique spin on all of the Batman stuff that we've experienced in our lifetimes, right? Like Dark Knight Batman was very recognizable from Dark Knight Batman comic. You know what I mean? Like Adam West Batman was very recognizable to like old fucking 1950s fucking Batman comic. You know what I mean? Like all of the iterations of Batman that we have experienced in cinema up until this point have like kind of rode what the comics of the era were doing.
Right.
Somewhat in the territory of, I'm not going to say that it was an absolute A to B match, but like this one was like, we're going to do like the, which one was the fucking fanfic? we're going to do the 50 Shades spin-off of Twilight version of Batman. You know what I mean? Like, it was very like alternate universe kind of style of Batman that had enough of some of the classic elements that made it watchable, but it was very like just like jarring at first.
Did you play the Arkham series, the Arkham Asylum series?
No, I hadn't played any of the Arkham series.
For me, I think it was a lot more like that. It was definitely the darkest of the Batman movies I've seen.
That weren't Dark Knight.
Well, no, I thought it was even darker.
You know what?
Overall,
okay. Yeah.
There wasn't really
the vibe was very gritty,
very much so. Like from start to finish, it was all brood, all dark, all Where like with Christian Bale's Batman, you still have I'm not wearing hockey pads, and you get the funny things here and there, and you still get that flamboyant Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have this.
Right.
Bruce Wayne doesn't talk to fucking anybody.
Yeah.
And he's like just walking around looking like a sad puppy dog all the time. And that kind of, I wasn't really huge on that Bruce Wayne, but that's not Robert Pattinson's fault.
Right.
I'm going to actually use his name, right?
He's not Captain Sparkles anymore.
He's not Captain Sparkles in the sunlight to me anymore. And I mean, not like he gives a fuck.
Right.
But
of course.
Congratulations to him. You did Batman pretty well. And I think in this one, they tried to do a lot too much. They brought in a lot of characters.
Yeah.
And for a 3-hour movie, like, sure, but it was a lot to throw into even a 3-hour movie.
Right.
I was wondering for like 2.5 hours, I'm like, how are you going to bring this all together?
They did.
It was a good movie. It was a decent watch. It really was.
Yeah.
And
it definitely, I think, one of those ones where it's more enjoyable on a rewatch because you're not as confused by what some of those elements are.
Because it was a 3-hour movie, I did not get a chance to give it a rewatch because I don't have 3 extra hours. I was lucky to get 3 hours in to watch it this time.
Sure.
I watched it on a Tuesday, and we usually record the pod on a Saturday. So, like, I tried, but no, it wasn't going to happen. I'm going to give it a rewatch, though, because I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of what they did with a lot of the characters. I thought the Riddler was fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought the way they did the Riddler, and like I had mentioned before, he was very much like Arkham Knight style Riddler.
Okay.
Where the Arkham Knight series was very much dark.
Okay.
It was very much like that style.
Okay. Like the almost like neo-noir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everything, like, and it has that uneasy feeling, and like some of the shit that the Riddler is doing, it makes you go, ooh, whoa. It was like almost Seven style.
If it was a little bit more futuristic, it would have been straight up cyberpunk, but it wasn't quite there yet.
I didn't play cyberpunk, but I think I get what you're talking about.
The world, like the kind of environment. Anyway, carrying on.
I did like the villains they did. I thought the acting, the casting choices were great.
Yeah.
I didn't have a single problem with any of them. I can't think of.
Like I said, I just had a gripe with his Bruce Wayne. His Batman was pretty solid.
And like, I feel like the Bruce Wayne thing is he did the assignment that was given to him. And I feel like the assignment was maybe a little bit off touch, but for the tone of the film,
sure,
I could see how they were going with it. I just didn't really care for that particular choice.
I just don't see him as being like a really good, compelling brooder. I didn't actually watch Twilight, so like I don't know how well he brooded there. but,
as far as
but my understanding is that it's actually like her that's supposed to be more of the broody one in that anyway.
Yes and no. I've gone on record as saying the vampires pissed me off in Twilight because they sparkled, but beyond that, the movies themselves weren't terrible. The story themselves weren't terrible, and he was a decent actor. I just hated the fact that he sparkled in the sunlight, and unfortunately, it was just him that took the brunt of it because I saw him the most.
I never actually watched the movies because I read the first book on somebody's recommendation and like went through the whole book going, this is almost good. Maybe it'll get good soon. And then I got to the end of the book and I was like, well, it never actually got good, but it wasn't so bad that I just threw it away.
Right. I didn't realize, I'm pretty sure it was Colin Farrell that did the Penguin. And,
I believe you're correct on that.
And I thought the Penguin's characterization was pretty cool. It was cool not seeing him be the leader yet.
Right.
And
where
operating
kind of
underneath
like
Falcone.
Yeah.
Kind of like the lieutenant and just waiting for Falcone to, to fuck up or whatever.
Yeah.
And
also the fact that he wasn't like blatantly like penguin-y.
Yeah, he wasn't. And that was another thing that was part of the Arkham series, is he didn't have like Danny DeVito's flippers.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
He wasn't being followed around town by a horde of penguins, right? He was just a fat dude with a big nose.
Right.
That happened to, run a fucking mob organization.
Right.
And I thought that was cool. This was very much like, it removed a lot of the stuff about Batman that I'd come to enjoy, is like the fantasy of it all. How the fact that Batman can engage it, it used to be like with Keaton's Batman or Clooney's Batman or even Kilmer's Batman. It's like you put him in a group of 30 people and nobody's going to touch him. He's going to destroy everybody without breaking a step.
Right.
And then you go to Bale's Batman and you get to go to the Ra's al Ghul training and all that. And you find out, this is why he can do this.
Right.
And with this one, it was like they kind of removed all that. They really like humanized him a whole lot more.
Sure.
Like taking more hits, looking less polished.
Right.
There was the scene where he's trying to glide and it looks almost like he's wearing a fucking fur coat or something like that. It's like a paraglider thing. And then he hits the bridge and tumbles and I'm like, that's death, but okay. But I was okay with that. But it is one of my things with Batman is the fact that he never had to stop.
Right.
With Arkham Knight, or Arkham Asylum, if you ever do play that game, if you hit the dodge button perfectly, you will never be touched.
Okay.
He is stereotypical Batman.
Sure.
He just never stops beating your ass.
Right.
Until you're dead.
Right.
And with this guy, he seemed very unsure. Very very rough around the edges.
Sure.
And only being Batman for, I think, 2 years.
Yeah, something like that. I guess what I really enjoyed about this was that it kind of like all other Batman stuff has always been kind of like this very... There's always the acknowledgement that this exists within the DC universe and like Superman is out there somewhere. You know what I mean? Like not necessarily explicitly like with Batman versus Superman or whatever, but like the villains especially are like larger than life in a way where like they kind of exist within that world where Superman exists. Right. And
they're super villains.
They're super villains, right. And in this one, like everybody is just like nerfed a little bit. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're all a little bit more real. Right. All a little bit more human. Yeah. And I really did enjoy that. And that's what I mean by what I'm saying. Like it feels like alternate universe Batman is because it feels like it's removed from the larger like DC collective where all of these superheroes and supervillains exist and it's just regular guys. Right.
And like the Nolan trilogy, which is my favorite Batman of all time, which is a hard sell because Keaton was amazing. That one is the one that I feel like they kind of went in that direction a little more because like you didn't have that Bane was not, hopped up on the Venom. Right. Where he pushes the button, all of a sudden he's the fucking Incredible Hulk. Sure. But you had, a Bane that was a mercenary and he, and stuff like that. But it was still very fantastical. Right. In that this guy who, when we're watching the Nolan trilogy, he's only Batman for like 10 years. Right. Total. Right. Maybe. Right. So, and like in Batman Begins, he is already doing that thing where he's gotten the training and he's not rough around the edges at all, except for like a few jumps here and there. Right. But in this one, it's very much more realistic. It's far more believable. You don't have to suspend belief as much. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Like you could absolutely see this stuff happening.
Well, and I feel like, particularly with the Riddler, like the Riddler very much felt like, the current like internet terrorist type shit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
the fact that he was actually like raising a cult.
Right.
It made so much sense. Oh my God. It made so much sense.
That touched really close to reality, like reality.
Touched close to home. Come on, bro. Yeah. He could have been trying to kidnap the governor.
Right. Sure.
Right. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it did. Yeah. And I liked that about this. As much as I loved Jim Carrey, I loved Jim Carrey. I hated Val Kilmer, but Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones were awesome in that movie.
Yes.
And fucking Jim Carrey was such a good Riddler. But
he was made for that.
Absolutely.
That version of that role.
Exactly.
He was made for it.
That
like
comic
that's
version.
His guy right there. Like he is made for that. He's made for that role the way that Ryan Reynolds is made for Deadpool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I thought this Riddler was a really nice change of pace. He was definitely not comedic.
Right.
Like I was a little bit bothered by the fact that I got all of his riddles.
Almost a little Zodiac-y.
Almost.
Almost.
Yeah.
Well, but that was the thing, was like, even with like fucking Adam West Riddler, right? Like, the riddles weren't necessarily hugely intimidating if you're any kind of a person that has ever dabbled in the world of riddles and like heard all of the normal ones. You know what I mean? Like, if you've heard all of the fucking classics,
right?
Nothing about any of that stuff was going to be like hugely like, you know, challenging. Right. But the whole point on that front is that like, it's kind of to show, in my opinion, that like Batman exists because of the incompetence of the cops.
Yeah.
You know, the incompetence and corruption of the cops.
I was going to say more the corruption, but yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's crazy to see because, you know, you're looking at this, and crooked cops have always been a part of Batman. Always.
Sure.
But in this one, it was so apparent, and it's like it made it look like such on a much larger scale, because you also had like the DA and everybody in the DA's office,
right,
and the actual mayor,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
And all
like
these high-ranking members.
The conspiracy went all the way to the top,
right? And when the guy, I think it was Batman that said it, was like, no, Falcone's the mayor here. Not the mayor. He's not the mayor. No, Falcone runs this bitch.
Right.
And like it did. It showed how the corruption went all the way to the top. That was cool. They're going to make a sequel.
Oh, they would have to.
You see the Joker in the end with the Riddler.
I mean, like, I really don't know how they're going to top the Heath Ledger Joker, honestly. Like, I feel like that was the best Joker of all time.
Ever. And I say that again, just like I did earlier. Nicholson was amazing.
And he did a fantastic job, too.
So good.
And
but Heath Ledger is the goddamn Joker.
Right.
and like after that, dude, they hit me.
Nicholson lived through being the Joker.
Right.
Like, that's all I got to say about that. Is like Heath Ledger went so deep onto being the Joker that he died.
But they hit me with fucking Jared Leto in Suicide Squad, and oh my god, worst Joker ever. I've seen that guy in some roles that I enjoyed. Right, he was good in Fight Club.
Sure.
And he was good in some other movies that I've seen, but he was a terrible Joker. And fight me. I'm willing to take that battle, because oh my god, he fucking snarls like a dog and shit like that. I can't do it.
My main understanding, I haven't like dug into the graphic novel version of this, but the Suicide Squad is more also of an AU type thing, you know, and I don't know how well he reflected the Joker of that version of Gotham.
Maybe that's what it was.
But I think that was like the main thing that was going on there, was that it was alternate universe Joker.
Could be. I don't know, man. It was not good.
because it is supposed to be more Harley centric.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Obviously.
So
and you know, they accomplished that. But I did see the Joker in the end of this one. If they're going to go that route for the next one, I'll be excited to see what they do with it based on what they did with the Riddler in this one.
Yeah.
Cuz I thought they did a really good job with the Riddler. But I hope they kind of bring the story together a little better in this one, cuz I can see how a lot of people wouldn't like. I believe the Rotten Tomatoes rating was pretty good, but a lot of people were saying it's not so great, probably because they had to sit there for 3 hours.
3 hours before they really understood what was going on.
Exactly.
Right.
And by that time, it's like and that's the type of movie you don't want to see in the theater.
Right.
That's the type of movie you
too
need
long.
I watched that movie at my house, and I probably still had to pause it like 3 or 4 times throughout the course of the movie, just to pee and get something and whatever the case may be. But like, I found that those little breaks kind of helped.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are periods where it's just coming at you from everywhere, and it's almost overwhelming.
Right.
You're like, I can't keep up with this. What the fuck is going on?
When I watched it, I actually watched it in 1 hour chunks before I fell asleep.
Okay.
Because there were some scenes that were really that chase scene, the car chase scene, was a really fun scene.
It was a really fun scene.
And that one kept me awake, and I was like, oh shit, this is fucking, got some of that hardcore Batman, Batmobile type vibes.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then there were other parts of it when they were doing investigative Batman, where it was just like, oh man, this is dragging. I can't keep my eyelids open.
Right.
I'm just gonna close them and listen because there's not really anything happening anyway. And then the next thing I know, I'm out.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm picking it up later.
Yep. But I think those breaks really did help. I hope if they do a sequel that they kind of iron some of those kinks out, just because it was really hard, at least for me on a first watch.
Yeah.
To get into. I'm going to give it a second watch because I thought it was worth that at least.
Sure.
It was not bad.
No.
It was worth a watch.
No, it was.
And
I enjoyed it.
If they have a sequel, I will absolutely watch it.
Yeah.
Without question.
For sure.
But I'm probably not going to watch it in the theater. I'm probably going to wait until it comes out and I can watch it at home.
The big thing on that one, I think, is they had to go kind of I think they were going for kind of keeping you confused about what's going on because they wanted to use that to emphasize Detective Batman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If that's
they
the
were
case,
kind
then
of
mission accomplished.
keeping you kind of confused as to what's going on to kind of reflect artistically his confusion about what's going on.
Right.
And he's solving the case. You know what I mean? And also just kind of introducing the big world of this different version of Gotham from what most people are used to, at least from the cinema version.
Right.
You know what I mean? Cinema and the comics in a lot of ways, right? Because it was very different from my experiences of both of those. Not to say that I'm in any way
Batman aficionado.
Right, I am not. Not even close. But I've watched a lot of Batman shit throughout the course of my life, And I think that now that world is built and we kind of understand how the pieces fit together, you don't have to go quite to that level
right
for the sequel.
I'm hoping that's the case.
Right. And hopefully they find the happy spot between building the case and building solving the case and just having a kind of what the fuck is going on,
right?
Not being quite such a huge gray zone,
right?
You know what I mean? Get those lines a little less blurry because there's a lot of big blurry line there of what's going on here,
right? Well, and to that point, a lot of it is that they were throwing so many characters at you.
Yeah,
I mean, you have Batman, you have the Riddler, you have Penguin, you have Falcone, Maroni, you've got, an Alfred that's in there for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. You have a Catwoman that's in there and has her own thing going on.
Right.
It's there's so many characters.
There were a lot of plots and subplots.
A lot. And they all unfolded nicely.
Yeah.
But for a while, I was wondering very much how they were going to unfold nicely.
Right.
Quick note, I thought Catwoman was okay. She's not going to beat Michelle Pfeiffer for me because good luck. I'm sorry. I grew up in that era and man, I crushed on Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman forever. Wow. Ugh, so hot. Anyway, I thought the Catwoman in this one was still okay.
Yeah, she did great.
I mean, I don't have any problems with her performance. I think a lot of the issues I had with this movie were the story, the script, and things like that. I don't think it had anything to do with the acting.
Well, and I think what it is that it's the timeline, right? Because this is a window of the timeline that we haven't seen before, right? Because we could kind of, aside from the not so penguin-y penguin, you know what I mean? The not so Riddler,
right?
You know what I mean? We could kind of fit these characters into any of the other Batman chronologies, right, and it would just be the part of the story that really hasn't ever been talked about when Batman first started Batmaning, and he wasn't polished. He didn't have the shine, and he wasn't this unstoppable monster. He was just he was just a dude who was learning the ropes and trying to figure it out. And all of the other characters are that too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the big part of it. I think that is the big disruption there is, we're used to whatever the fuck Catwoman's character's real name is. Selena Kyle being like big time art dealer fucking plus cat thief or cat burglar. You know what I mean? Like, we're used to her being that. And in this, she's like some fucking like poor waitress who is cat burglaring.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we're not used to seeing like coming out of the gutter characters,
right?
Because that's where basically all of them are at, right? Is they're all coming out of the gutter. Bruce Wayne psychologically, Selena Kyle literally, fucking Penguin literally, you know what I mean? Like, they're not even at the top of their game. This is them rising through the ranks type thing, and we're not used to seeing that. And I think that is where like the vast majority of the disruption comes in, because we have these like narratives in our head of who these characters are. And because we're seeing this like prequel version of all of them, it's disruptive.
Right. We have to fit him into a new timeline.
Right. Exactly.
Like, wait, this doesn't sync up.
What's
going on?
Cognitive dissonance. I don't know what's happening right now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, I mean, if there's a sequel, and I've heard that there is one confirmed, I cannot confirm that, but I've read somewhere in a few headlines that it was confirmed. And if there's a sequel, I will absolutely watch it. I thought this one was good. Quick, out of 10.
7 or 8 easily, and most of that is like the Robert Pattinson Bruce Wayne, which if he's now like coming out of his moody shell,
I was kind of hoping to see that,
and seeing him like start to become the billionaire playboy,
right?
That we recognize Bruce Wayne as being, you know what I mean, and start seeing him in that role, or playing that role as through the lens of Batman. I think that one is where his Bruce Wayne will really come to shine.
Right.
Because I feel like he can play that guy.
Well, and you know what? In this instance, I will stick with 7.5. And it certainly had nothing to do with Robert Pattinson.
No.
In that respect, he has earned my respect for playing one of my, if not my favorite superhero.
Uh-huh.
And good on you, man.
And yeah,
I think it was a good job, and I'm gonna definitely give it another watch just so I can watch it and not be confused. So, well, thank you so much for checking us out today. This has been Deviance Welcome. You can check out more episodes and get access to the latest everything on the website, volatilepatience.com. There you can sign up for the mailing list and get our new EP, First 4, absolutely free. Check out the sock meds if that's your thing. Facebook.com/volatilepatiencemusic.
At VOLATYLPATIENCE on Twitter, spelled weird because Twitter did not give us enough characters.
Thank you. Twitter and on Instagram, spelled normally at volatile_patience because Instagram did give us enough characters.
Thank you, Instagram.
You can check out the Deviance Welcome YouTube channel at Deviance Welcome, or the Volatile Patience specific YouTube channel at Volatile Patience. Check out the Deviance Welcome Facebook group where you can continue the discussion with us. Remember to give us a review on Apple, and go see The Batman. I definitely was willing to watch that over Batfleck. And if you want me to watch that, I will do it if you tell me it's good. And with that, we'll see you next week. Say bye to the people, Sel.
Bye to the people.